morning, everyone. So I've got lots of projects going today. I'm probably going to try to make multiple videos. I thought about putting them all into one, but since they're not like just canning or just meal prep or anything like that, I thought, well, I should probably separate them. So the first thing I'm doing, and I use the ball canning book, this is like my go-to, is I'm going to can some, this is a pork picnic roast. So I went ahead and got it cut up and cut off like the thick pieces of fat. I didn't think you wanted to watch me do that. So the first thing I've got to do is get these laid out on cookie sheets, and I'm going to get them in the oven at 400 degrees. So depending on your oven, mine runs really hot. You only want to cook them, you know, you're basically kind of browning them, sort of. You don't want them cooked all the way through because they're going to finish cooking in the pressure canning process. So this is the first thing I'm going to be canning today. So we'll get these laid out. Now you can salt and pepper these if you choose to. I'm not going to. One, because we don't really eat salt. But also because when, you know, we open up the jar of the pork, then we're going to be able to shred it and add, you know, say barbecue sauce for shredded pork burritos or sandwiches or whatever. And then we can also make, we can make tacos. We can, you know, just dump it into a pot and use it for a stew. You know, because obviously you wouldn't cook it through the whole stew process, but, you know, you open up, say you've got canned corn and canned potatoes and, you know, a variety of different stuff. You can just dump them all into a pot, heat it up, and voila, you've got a hearty stew in, I don't know, 15 minutes or so. You want to cook it at least 10 minutes. You know, at least let it boil for 10 minutes. Just to cut out any or kill any chances of anything. Alright, so I'm going to get these in the oven. I'm going to cook them just until they're basically brown. They're not going to be cooked all the way through. They are still going to kind of be raw. And then once they are done and ready to go into the jars, well, I'm going to get these in the oven, and then I'll come back and I'll show you the broth that I'm going to do. I've already got the jars washed with hot soapy water. They're actually still pretty warm. And I'm going to get the broth ready to go, and then we will get these in the jars and get them in the canners. Okay, so after you cook the meat in the oven just long enough for it to brown, you don't want it cooked all the way through. What I have here is some bone broth that I actually had frozen because we canned so much of it that I actually put some in Ziploc baggies and just froze it. So I thawed that out. It's just basic bone broth. So what I'll do now is I'm going to, those jars are a little warm, fill my jars up, and I want to leave 1-inch head space. And remember, you never want to put a hot jar on a cold counter. Now, my countertops don't get that cold because they are made of pine. You know, I know that like some countertops, like, I don't know, like marble or granite or something, they get really cold. Mine, luckily, do not.
Wow, that's really hot.
And then today, for this particular canning, I'm going to use it's called a Power Pressure Cooker XL. It's my sister, she let me use it. And it's an electric canner. It does other things, but it has a button for canning. So it's an electric canner. You cannot pressure can in just a regular pressure cooker. It has to be a pressure canner. You cannot pressure or can in an Instapot either. It is not safe. And I am making a mess. Now for all the fat that I cooked or cut off of the meat, I'm actually not going to render that particular fat just because I still have, I don't even know, like bags of lard that I need to render because we had already rendered. You gotta grab me a plastic knife. I can't find my bubbler. I'll just use this. Anyway, I have already rendered a bunch of fat from the pig that we processed, but I still have a lot more to go, so I'm not going to render that one just because I already have a bunch. So you want to release the air bubbles, make sure that your meat is under the liquid. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and use this end of it. So you can get a canning bubbler. I have one, I just cannot seem to find it anywhere. So if you can't find yours or you don't have one, just make sure you use something plastic so you don't crack your jars. And see, sometimes when you let the air bubbles out, your juice goes down a little bit, so you'll have to just add a tiny bit more. I don't know why I put that on there to do that. Push the meat back down. Okay. Now, for the vinegar. You're going to do every jar, wipe the rims. You want to make sure you've taken off any fat, grease, juice, anything that may have gotten on there to make sure you got a good seal. Now, this particular model holds 5 of the pint-sized jars. Remember, fingertip tight. My Presto canner, that one actually, I think I can do 10 pint-sized jars in that. But since I don't have 10 going, I'll use that for another project. And I will just use this one for these jars. That one actually could probably use just a bit more. Yeah, there we go. Put your lid on. Put your band on, fingertip tight. And for those of you that are new to canning, I know it's hard to learn the fingertip tight. So basically you want to make sure you're just holding it with your fingertips. If I can get this one going. And you're just going to tighten it with your fingertips. You're not going to grab a hold of it and just crank it down. You're just going to tighten it with your fingertips. And that's what it means by fingertip tight. And this recipe is in the ball canning book. You can add spices, but remember, as it cooks and as it sits, it does get stronger, so be careful how much spices you add. We are not adding spices because, like I said earlier, we want to be able to use this for other things, barbecue, tacos, things like that. And so now, that's about 6 cups. You want it to go a quarter of the way up the jar for this particular canner. And it's usually about 6 cups that it does that. Sometimes a little more. I think it just depends on what's in your jars. So that probably maybe needs another cup. There we go. Okay, so according to the ball canning book, whenever you're doing, because this does not have bone in it, I'm doing the pint-sized jars. So for the pint-sized jars, you do, I used to do the quart-sized jars, so I'm kind of having to relearn 75 minutes, so it's the same as chicken. I'm having to relearn the pint-size times, just because I've always done quart-sized jars, but with it just being us two now, quart jars it's just way too much. I can do one of these and we can both have plenty to eat. So this one, my vent's open, so now I'll select pressure canning, and then I set my time for 75 minutes. And so now this one has, it like goes in circles. It'll come up to temp and it'll actually release steam for 10 minutes. This will count it down by itself. These are amazing. So I actually think I'm gonna try to get me one, unless my sister lets me like kind of borrow this for like ever. But once it's vented for 10 minutes, this will beep at me, and then I'll come over and flip that to the closed part, and then it just does its thing. Like, this is like the coolest thing ever. So anyway, that is how you do cubed pork. Like I said, I used picnic roast. Right now, just because the cost of like electricity and stuff is getting really high, well, the cost of everything is getting really high. We currently are running 2 refrigerator freezer combos plus 2 freezers. So our goal is to get it down to just our kitchen refrigerator freezer and 1 freezer in the garage, and be able to turn off the other 2. So that is our goal. So I'm going to be canning like crazy. We've got green chili and garlic in the dehydrator right now, and we even broke down and went and bought a food processor, which I've wanted one for a really long time, and it made garlic like, oh my gosh, so much easier to do. We had it like minced in like no time flat. So, and actually when I get those out of the dehydrator, I'll do a little short video on what we do with the garlic and the green chili. But for now, we're working on the pork, and so when these are all done and they've been through their whole process, I'll come back and show you what the jars look like. Okay, so our meat is done in the pressure cooker. Now the pressure is out. Let's see what we got and see if we had any siphoning. Looks good. the water is perfectly clear. I had zero siphoning. Awesome. So there you go. That is how I canned picnic roast, pork picnic roast. I'll get these moved over to another shelf so that I can work on my other project. But these will cool for, well, I'll leave them here overnight. And then tomorrow, I'll take the bands off, I'll label them and get them put in the pantry. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. Please, if you like our videos, subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and check us out on the other videos that we have coming up, even ones we've probably already posted. And remember, every day is a new beginning. Stay blessed.